because everybody in this month has been playing Call of Duty for 15 years. We've seen the best days. We've seen the worst. It's over, man. Okay? They don't fucking care.
Very similar in a lot of ways, but the thing that sets it apart is the Battlefield 6 gunplay. Like, the gameplay elements in Battlefield 6 versus Warzone are very different, and for my tastes, I prefer it. So I've had more fun with RedSec than I had with Warzone. Warzone I have many more hours than RedSec with, obviously, but I hate Warzone now. I think it sucks major. That is some turbo cheeks over there. RedSec at least feels fun to play. It feels nice. I prefer the Battlefield formula, so I've been having more fun with RedSec. But if you already like Warzone, I don't know if RedSec's going to win you over.
Overall, I give it like an 8.5. 8.5 out of 10. I think I would give it a higher score if there were more POIs on the map where you could land where there was like really good loot. But from my experience playing for the last few hours, there's only a couple POIs where you're going to get like really good loot quick. But then again, like, I don't know if that's the cadence to this game. I think you're supposed to land and do challenges to unlock quick and then go from there. I don't really think it's about loot. But like, then again, you need plates and I can't fucking find them. So other than that, I'm loving it, man. If I could find plates, I put this shit like a 9, 9.5.
RedSec is 100% better than Warzone right now, 1000%. I can tell you right now that this game right now, yes, is better than Warzone. Just off rip, I'm gonna tell you why it's better than Warzone. I think this game is so good at attention to detail, and that's what RedSec has done. One thing that I like about RedSec as well is how simple it is. Like, there's 400 guns in that game, and it's so overwhelming, especially if you're a casual hopping on and you see 400 guns. It's not going to be the most goated thing. There's a reason why RedSec is succeeding because of what it is because they did battle royale the right way, and it feels so intense and makes the game fun. When you try to cater to every single audience, bro, it just doesn't work out. You confuse everybody, you start losing the value of it, and I think Resurgence took away the feeling of how a game felt winning in Warzone. That's why I'm having fun with RedSec. If all they drop is a Resurgence map for Warzone Season 1 for Black Ops 7, we are doomed.
The game mode is extremely similar to Warzone. You are likely going to just stick with the one that you prefer the gameplay of. So if you're someone that likes the less movement-based shooting of Battlefield, you're probably going to prefer RedSec. But if you already like the Call of Duty formula and all the movement tech there, RedSec's not going to be stealing you over there. It's not going to be taking the Warzone lunch money, I don't think. I feel like it's just going to be boiled down to a matter of personal preference in gunplay. And for me, I prefer Battlefield 6 gunplay. Like, everything in Battlefield 6 gameplay, I vastly prefer.
What if the battle royale everyone expected to fail is suddenly the one people are saying might replace Warzone? Because whether you've played it or not, Battlefield 6's new BR mode, RedSec, has already done something Call of Duty hasn't managed in almost 3 years. It made people talk, not out of nostalgia, not out of hype, but because it might genuinely be the first real alternative to Warzone since Warzone launched. It didn't come from Fortnite. It didn't come from Apex. It didn't come from X-Defiant, Splitgate, or any of the COD killers that disappeared in 6 months. It came from Battlefield, the franchise everyone spent years calling dead. And the strangest part, the numbers backing it up don't even tell the full story. So in this video, we're breaking down how Battlefield 6 accidentally became the first BR to seriously threaten Warzone, how the player base reacted, the hidden risks nobody is talking about, and what this shift means for the future of both franchises. Because if this momentum continues, Call of Duty might not just be losing players, it might be losing its identity. Let's start with the one thing nobody can deny, the launch numbers. On Steam, Battlefield 6 hit 549,000 players on RedSec's launch day, with an earlier peak of 750,000 during the main BF6 launch window. Those aren't good for Battlefield numbers. Those are franchise revival numbers. Numbers big enough to trend. Numbers big enough to force COD streamers to acknowledge it. Now, yes, that's only Steam. Not Xbox, not PlayStation, not EA app, not cross-platform totals. So, no, this isn't a Battlefield overtook Call of Duty forever moment. But here's what does matter. This is the first time in years that a AAA shooter has launched a BR that didn't immediately get ignored, forgotten, or buried under Warzone. And more importantly, people aren't just trying it, they're staying. But numbers alone don't explain the shift, because if this was just big player launch hype, we would have already moved on, like we did with X-Defiant, Bloodhunt, Hyperscape, The Finals, and every other next big thing. So, what makes Red Sack different? That answer starts with how it feels to play. But the gameplay isn't the only surprise. If you've played Red Sack for more than 5 minutes, the first thing you notice is the pacing. It isn't sped up chaos like Warzone solos, and it isn't a camping simulator like early PUBG. It has movement, but not movement spam. Gunplay, but without the TTK lottery that Warzone drifted into. Everything feels intentional. The map layout isn't empty land with random buildings dropped in. The gunfights feel like Battlefield, not like someone modded COD into third-person team revives. Loot scaling and missions actually matter, instead of feeling like checklist mechanics.
These dickheads are already making Call of Duty Black Ops 9. They're in there right now. I don't know how you make a video game, but they're in there typing on their keyboard, coding, maybe typing some shit that we can't read. They're making Black Ops 9 right now. And they're making the skins for it. It used to be 100 people that were making the game. 80 of them are making the game. 20 are doing the cosmetics. Now it's 100 people making the game. 80 of them are making cosmetics. 20 of them are making the game. That's it. And they're just pumping them out. Bop, 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 bop.
What's wrong with Warzone right now, I personally believe, is they have an identity crisis. They don't know whether to cater to the resurgence. They don't know whether to cater to the casuals. They don't know what to do. They're making big maps that are catered to resurgence, right? Then they brought back Verdansk and did 0 updates. They just have an identity crisis, man. They just don't know what to do, which direction to go. I'm gonna tell you right now, especially with Blackout coming out, please, Warzone, go back to the core of what Battle Royale was. Don't listen to Lucky Chamu or any of these resurgence guys. I promise you, resurgence is not going to carry Warzone into the future. It is not going to be the most goated thing. There's a reason why Red Sack is succeeding because of what it is because they did Battle Royale the right way. And it feels so intense and makes the game fun. When you try to cater to every single audience, bro, it just doesn't work out. You confuse everybody, you start losing the value of it. And I think Resurgence took away the feeling of how a game felt winning in Warzone. That's why I'm having fun with Red Sack. Battle Royale, super fun. They just got to figure out their identity, especially with Blackout.
Most BRS try to reinvent the genre. Red Sack did the opposite. It made the genre functional again. Even small details stand out. No who sees who first wins instantly syndrome, fewer third-party angles, less visual clutter, cleaner gunfights. A map that feels designed, not just large. It feels like Battlefield, just without the chaos of 128 player lobbies turning into an airstrike blender. And that's where things get dangerous for Warzone, because Battlefield didn't try to out-COD Call of Duty. It just stopped doing the things players hate about Warzone. And that brings us to the big problem Call of Duty can't escape. Let's be clear, Warzone isn't dead, but something changed. Not on the charts, but in the attitude of the player base. People stopped defending it. That's the shift nobody wants to talk about. For 3 years straight, Warzone players acted like every update was just a phase. Every complaint was skill issue, and every problem would be fixed next season. Now, even the die-hard Warzone creators aren't pretending to be excited. COD next came and went, and most of the biggest names in the community barely reacted. Even streamers who built their careers on Warzone were openly bored. Verdansk came back with almost no changes. Movement updates felt recycled. Meta shifts felt fake. And underneath it all is one deeper problem. Warzone stopped evolving. But Battlefield did. And when a franchise stops evolving, players don't argue anymore. They leave quietly. So, when Battlefield launched a BR that felt new just by being functional, suddenly the idea of switching didn't sound ridiculous anymore. But this is where the twist starts, because Battlefield hasn't won yet. In fact, the biggest shift isn't about gameplay at all, because for the first time ever, COD fans aren't just defending COD. Something weird has been happening in the comments sections across YouTube, Reddit, and Twitter. The arguments flipped. Instead of Battlefield players trying to prove something, it's Call of Duty fans trying to explain why Warzone is still good. Instead of Battlefield fans coping, it's COD players saying, well yeah, but charts, or well yeah, but console numbers. Because for the first time in years, COD doesn't have default superiority anymore. It has doubt. That is way more dangerous than losing player count. Because once players stop defending something, they become open to replacing it. You don't have to beat Warzone at everything. You only have to offer something that feels better to enough people, even temporarily. Red Sack didn't need to be revolutionary, it just needed to be good enough to make Warzone look old, and it did. But now we hit the part nobody's talking about. Because if Red Sack keeps growing, Battlefield might repeat Warzone's biggest mistake. Here's the part most people get wrong when they compare Battlefield to Call of Duty. Battlefield doesn't have to win for this to be a victory. It only has to exist as a real alternative, something shooters haven't had in over 5 years. Call of Duty dominated not because it was untouchably good, but because it was undeniably available. It was the safe pick, the default, the one game everyone already owned, the one franchise everyone assumed was just going to be on top forever. People didn't stay because they were happy. They stayed because they didn't feel like they had a way out. That's how Warzone got away with broken metas, recycled maps, invisible skins, movement whiplash, and 5 gigabytes of attachments for a pistol that still somehow lost to a hip-firing shotgun from 200 meters. Battlefield doesn't need to dethrone Warzone to win. It just needs to break the mental monopoly COD has had over the FPS space for years. Because once players realize switching is possible, defending the old thing becomes exhausting. And that is the first real shift we're witnessing. Not COD fans switching overnight, but COD fans finally admitting they're tired. That's way more important than a Steam chart screenshot.
Because RedSec just does Warzone with Battlefield gameplay in tanks. That's really it. Like, I can't find any other big differences. Maybe the ladder. You get to place a ladder down in RedSec if you play Assault or something. Or like the artillery strikes. But even then, there's comparable things in Warzone. It's just very, 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 very similar. So there's nothing crazy about RedSec. It's just been there, done that, standard battle royale. And if you're someone that likes battle royales, you'll probably have fun with it if you already like Battlefield 6 gameplay.
We used to spend $20 to get 3 maps and 2 game modes. Now we get Pikachu. That's hey, people blame streamers, but y'all motherfuckers are buying them too. It's just the nature of the beast. Fortnite, man. The difference is, Fortnite was free, is free. This fucking game, man, you know, $80 here, $20 there. Here's the deluxe pack. Here's the battle pass. You know, fuck them, man.
It's hard to completely kill off a game like Call of Duty and Warzone when, you know, they still make games for last gen. If you didn't know, on the Xbox store and the PlayStation store, Call of Duty was still number 2 on the leaderboards behind Fortnite for October, which is actually kind of insane. Battlefield doesn't make the game for old gen, so that's probably where a lot of those numbers fall off. But I think there's a lot of things that Warzone can look at to RedSec and be like, damn, they are crushing it. Just off the top of my head, because someone said it in chat, I just saw it right now, bro. If you think about the gas on Rebirth Island, it's just yellow. It's just yellow. Somebody said it looked like piss. In RedSec, bro, like the fire closing. I'm not saying Warzone should copy what RedSec, but I'm saying the attention to detail and the way it feels, bro, it makes the end games 10 times more intense. They actually put an effort into it. You know what I'm saying? Warzone just threw on a yellow mist and called it a storm.
Warzone doesn't fall when Battlefield spikes. Warzone falls when players stop feeling guilty about leaving, and that's already happening. But there's a flip side, because Battlefield winning too hard could actually ruin the franchise from a different angle, which leads to the biggest threat to Battlefield 6, not failure, but success. Everyone celebrates when a game blows up, until it blows up the wrong part of the game. We've seen this exact story before. Apex Legends blew up, Titanfall franchise quietly died. Fortnite BR exploded, Fortnite save, the world vanished, Warzone took over, COD multiplayer became a side mode in its own franchise, PUBG became a BR cash machine. Every other PUBG mode was abandoned. Halo Infinite launched multiplayer, F2. Campaign support immediately evaporated. So here's the uncomfortable question. What happens if RedSec becomes so successful that EA decides Battlefield doesn't need multiplayer anymore? Right now, Battlefield 6 is in a rare sweet spot. Both modes are healthy, both communities are feeding off each other, and neither side feels disrespected. But if the BR starts pulling in more players, more streamers, and more monetization opportunities, you already know what happens. Battle Pass focus shifts fully to BR cosmetics. Weapon balancing becomes BR first, MP second. Seasonal content prioritizes the mode with the higher player count. Dev resources slowly migrate away from traditional Battlefield. Multiplayer becomes the side project, just like COD did. It doesn't happen in one update. It happens across 3 seasons when no one notices. And here's the biggest irony. The same people celebrating RedSec today will be the same people complaining in 8 months if EA turns Battlefield into Warzone, but with tanks. So, the danger isn't that RedSec fails, it's that it succeeds so hard that Battlefield forgets why it came back in the first place. Which leads us to the paradox that makes this situation completely different from Fortnite, Warzone, Apex, or PUBG. Because Red Sack might actually work best by not becoming the main attraction. This is the weird part nobody sees coming. Red Sack only works because it's additive, not replacement level. It didn't show up to take over Battlefield, it showed up to give Battlefield something it didn't have before. And unlike every other franchise that jumped into BR territory, Battlefield actually has something to fall back on, a multiplayer experience that people already enjoy. COD lost that balance. Titanfall lost that balance. Halo lost that balance. Battlefield, right now, still has it. Red Sack works because it doesn't erase the identity of the game that came before it. And here's the real twist. It doesn't have to become the biggest BR on Earth to succeed. It only has to become the better option for players who are already tired of Warzone.
There's no huge flaws with it. The tanks are kind of annoying, but it's not that big of a deal. It's just a very by-the-numbers, very generic Battle Royale mode that they seem to have just slapped on here like a hemorrhoid, because there's no reason not to have a Battle Royale mode. It's only a boon to the game because there are plenty of people that will play the Battle Royale that maybe weren't interested in playing the multiplayer. And the Battle Royale is free. So it gets a lot of people in the door, and then maybe they turn into a paying customer. So it makes a lot of sense, but boy howdy, let me tell you, it really does feel like they just tried to draw Warzone from memory here for RedSec. It is one-to-one in certain instances. Like, it feels very copy and pasted in a lot of ways. Like, I'm pretty confident there are times where you could show side-by-side gameplay of Warzone and RedSec, and you wouldn't be able to differentiate which is which.
Not the most played, not the most streamed, just the most trusted. Because once a player goes, yeah, honestly, Battlefield feels better than Warzone right now. That's game over. Not because Battlefield won, but because Warzone lost exclusivity status. Red Sack doesn't need 100 million players. It just needs enough people to make Call of Duty sweat again. Because when a franchise that was untouchable has to compete, it cracks from the inside. And that brings us to the final question. Short answer, no, Warzone isn't dead. But for the first time ever, it's replaceable. Long answer, Warzone has been running on familiarity for years. The same engine, the same map structure, the same live service treadmill design that's gone from exciting to predictable to exhausting. What Battlefield did wasn't kill Warzone. It broke the illusion that Warzone was the only option, and in the gaming world, that's the first step of death. Games don't die when they fall off the charts. They die when players stop caring if they do. And right now, Battlefield players care. COD players want to care again. And Warzone is losing its last advantage, inevitability. So, no, this isn't Battlefield replaces Call of Duty forever. This is something more interesting. For the first time in years, Call of Duty has to earn its players instead of just receiving them by default. And that might be the most dangerous thing that's ever happened to the franchise. So, now it's your turn. If you had to pick one game to play for the next month, not based on brand, not based on nostalgia, just pure enjoyment, Battlefield 6 multiplayer, Red Sack, BR Warzone, or have you already checked out of all three? Drop your answer in the comments. Because the data isn't coming from charts, it's coming from whether real players switch or stay. If this video gave you something to think about, hit like, sub, if you want the full breakdowns on Season 2 updates, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the follow-up video. What happens if EA actually chooses BR over Battlefield? Because if the BR war just restarted, Battlefield might not just be a comeback story. It might be the start of a new one. I'll see you in the next one.